She asked to pause our marriage so she could fly to Tokyo, and everyone would have bet I'd sit at home waiting like a fool. What none of them knew was that the moment she said those words, something inside me went silent. And silence, it turns out, can be dangerous. Before we go any further, if stories about quiet revenge, self-respect, and late-life awakenings hit close to home, subscribe to the channel, hit like, and leave a comment. You're not alone here. It didn't happen in a dramatic place. No restaurant, no candles, no music. Just a Wednesday night, our kitchen table, cold lo mein and white cardboard boxes, and the hum of the fridge filling the silence between us. My wife, Laura, sat across from me, scrolling her phone like she was checking the weather. We'd been married 6 years, long enough that silence had become our default language. "I think we should pause our marriage," she said casually, stabbing a piece of broccoli like it had personally offended her. Pause. Not end. Not separate. Pause. I set my fork down slowly, not because I was shocked, but because something about the way she said it felt rehearsed, polished, like she'd practiced in her head and finally pressed play. "Just for 3 weeks," she added, still not looking up. "While I'm in Tokyo for work, I think we both need space to figure things out." Space. That word people use when they want freedom without consequences. I studied her face. Same face I'd watched age with me. Same eyes that used to soften when she smiled. Now they were distant, impatient, already somewhere else. "Figure what out?" I asked. She sighed, finally looking at me, irritation flashing across her face like I'd broken an unspoken rule. "Us, this marriage, are we happy?" There it was, not a question, a verdict. "I don't know," she continued quickly. "That's the point. 3 weeks apart will give us clarity." Clarity. Another pretty word that means nothing when it matters. I leaned back in my chair, suddenly aware of how quiet the house felt. When had it started feeling like this? When had she started feeling like a stranger sitting in my kitchen? "So let me get this straight," I said evenly. "You want to pause our marriage while you're on the other side of the world?" "Yes," she said immediately, and the relief in her voice told me everything. No pressure, no expectations, just time to think. She didn't say the rest out loud. No rules, no accountability, a clean conscience and a return ticket. I knew what she expected next. Anger, questions, fear. That's what people like her prepare for. So instead, I nodded. "Okay?" She blinked. "Okay?" "Yeah," I said, picking my fork back up, "if that's what you need." The confusion on her face was almost comical. Almost. She'd expected tears or resistance, maybe bargaining. Instead, I went back to my food like we'd just agreed on what to watch on TV. "You're fine with this?" she asked, her tone sharpening. "You're an adult," I replied calmly. "You know what you want." She studied me now, suspicious. "You're being weird." "How should I be?" I asked. "You want space. I'm giving you space." For the next 3 days, she kept circling back to it, testing me, mentioning the trip, watching my face, waiting for me to crack. I didn't. Friday night, she packed her suitcase while I watched a game in the living room. She stood in the doorway twice, like she wanted to say something. I just nodded and kept my eyes on the screen. Saturday morning came early. Her ride to the airport arrived at 6. I made coffee like any other day. She stood by the door, luggage lined up, uncertainty finally creeping into her expression. "So, I guess this is it," she said. "Safe flight," I replied, handing her the mug. Her hand trembled when she took it. "You're really okay with this?" I smiled. "Not warm, not cold, empty." "You wanted a pause," I said. "Have a great trip." She hesitated, then left. I watched from the window as the car pulled away, and the moment it turned the corner, the house exhaled. So did I. She thought these weeks would freeze me in place, waiting, hoping, available. She had no idea that while she was flying east, my life had just shifted into motion. The moment her car disappeared, the house didn't feel empty. It felt honest. No tension humming in the walls, no careful listening for footsteps, no silent calculations about mood or tone. Just quiet. The kind of quiet you don't notice you've been missing until it shows up and stays. I stood there longer than I meant to, keys still in my hand, coffee cooling on the counter. 6 years of routine had trained me to expect something: criticism, instructions, a comment about what I should be doing next. Nothing came, so I did the most rebellious thing imaginable. Nothing. I sat down, turned on music she hated, loud, let it play without apologizing to an empty room. Then I ordered a pizza at 10 in the morning because I felt like it. Greasy, unapologetic, mine. By noon, I realized something unsettling. My chest felt lighter. Not relieved exactly, more like unburdened, like I'd been carrying a weight so long I'd stopped noticing it. That afternoon, I called Mark, an old friend I hadn't properly talked to in years, not because we'd fought, but because she'd made it exhausting to keep him in my life. Every hangout came with commentary. Every plan came with guilt. "You alive?" he answered, half laughing. "Barely," I said. "You free tonight?" There was a pause. Did hell freeze over? We met at a small bar near my place. Nothing fancy. Sticky tables, dim lights, the kind of place where nobody cares who you are. I ordered a beer without wondering if I'd hear about it later. He listened as I told him about the pause. Didn't interrupt. Didn't sugarcoat. "That's not space," he said finally. "That's insurance." Hearing it out loud did something, made it real. That night, I slept better than I had in months. No replaying conversations, no bracing for the morning. Monday, I took a day off work. Not sick, not stressed, just curious. Curious what a day looked like when no one dictated how I should spend it. I made an appointment with a lawyer Mark recommended, not because I'd decided anything, but because I was tired of not knowing where I stood. The office smelled like old books and coffee. The lawyer, Richard, listened without judgment. "People who ask for breaks usually aren't looking for answers," he said. "They're looking for permission." Permission. The word stuck. I left with a folder under my arm and something new in my step. Not anger, readiness. That afternoon, I walked into a gym I hadn't seen since before my marriage. No smoothie bar, no mirrors angled for selfies, just weights, sweat, and people focused on themselves. I signed up without asking anyone's opinion. My phone buzzed that evening. A text from Tokyo. Landed. Long flight. Miss you. 2 words. Carefully chosen. Months ago, they would have pulled something tight inside me. Now they felt neutral. I replied politely, briefly. No emotion attached. The typing bubbles appeared, disappeared, appeared again. That's it? I stared at the screen, then locked the phone. Tuesday, I went through finances, not snooping, understanding. What was mine? What was shared? Clean lines, simple truths. It felt grounding. Wednesday, she called. "Video," I answered. She looked tired, professional, perfectly composed. "You seem distant," she said. "You asked for space," I replied calmly. Her expression tightened. "I didn't mean this much space." That was interesting. The call ended awkwardly. She looked unsettled. I felt steady. Friday night, Mark came over with burgers. He studied me for a long moment. "You look different," he said, "like someone turned the noise down." I smiled. Because for the first time in years, that was true. The week ended without drama, without explosions, without me chasing clarity from someone who didn't know what she wanted. And somewhere between the gym, the quiet mornings, and the silence of unanswered expectations, I realized something important. This pause wasn't stopping my life. It was revealing it. Week 2 didn't begin quietly. It crept in through my phone. Her messages started coming faster now. Not long confessions, little probes, photos of hotel rooms, city lights, plates of food arranged too perfectly. "Rooftop dinner tonight. The view is insane. Wish you were here." I stared at the screen and felt nothing spike. No jealousy, no panic, just a strange distance, like I was watching someone else's vacation slideshow. I replied with 2 words. "Looks nice." 10 minutes passed. That's it? I didn't rush this time. Finished my coffee, let the silence sit. Then, enjoy yourself. That silence lasted 6 hours. When the next message came, it had a sharper edge. "What have you been doing?" I could have lied, could have played the role she expected. Instead, I told the truth. "Gym this morning, dinner with Mark." The reply came almost instantly. "Since when are you hanging out with Mark again?" There it was. The pause she had asked for, suddenly too quiet for her liking. Since I had the time, I wrote back. We caught up. On what? She pressed. I looked at the phone for a long moment. This was the same woman who'd asked for freedom to figure things out. Now she wanted a report. Life, I typed, then changed the subject. Or, how are your meetings? She didn't respond for the rest of the day. Tuesday evening, I walked into a community center classroom that smelled like sawdust and coffee. I'd signed up for a woodworking class, something I'd mentioned years ago and quietly abandoned after being told it wasn't practical. I liked the weight of the tools in my hands, the focus, the absence of commentary. My phone stayed silent in my pocket. Wednesday, it didn't. 3 missed calls, 2 voicemails, the first casual, the second impatient. Where are you? Call me, I texted instead. Was in a class. Everything okay? What class? Woodworking? There was a long pause. Then, we need to talk tomorrow. A real talk? I agreed, not because I felt cornered, but because I was curious. When she called the next evening, her voice had shifted, softer, careful. The tone she used when she wanted something. This time apart has been harder than I expected, she said. Has it? I asked. Silence stretched. I thought you'd miss me more, she admitted, that this would affect you. It is, I said calmly. Just not the way you imagined. She didn't like that. You're different, she said, distant. I'm respecting the space you asked for. That's not what I meant. The contradiction hung between us. I didn't rush to fill it. I'm starting to wonder if you even care, she said finally. There it was. The trap. The old one. I care about being in a marriage where both people want to be there, I replied. Do you? She didn't answer right away. Then, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Good, I said. You still have time. The call ended with her sounding unsettled. I sat there afterward, noticing something strange. No knot in my chest, no urge to fix things, no fear. Friday night, Mark stopped by again. He watched me sand a piece of wood at the kitchen table. You look calm, he said. That's new. I nodded, because it was. Later that night, he leaned back and said, You know what scares people like her? I waited. When you stop reacting. I didn't answer, but I understood. Because for the first time, I wasn't bracing for her next move. I was living in the space she'd left behind, and discovering it suited me more than I ever expected. By the start of the 3rd week, the rhythm had changed, not on my end, on hers. The messages weren't casual anymore. They came early in the morning, late at night, stacked close together like she was afraid silence might swallow them if she stopped typing. Photos first, streets, food, smiling selfies that didn't quite reach her eyes, then paragraphs, long ones, detailed ones, stories about meetings that ran late, dinners that felt lonely, hotel rooms that suddenly felt too quiet. I answered every message, politely, briefly, without heat. Each reply was a clean sentence, no questions, no emotional hooks, the kind of response that closes doors instead of opening them. You could feel the panic building through the screen. One afternoon, while I was re-racking weights at the gym, my phone buzzed again. I didn't check it until I finished my set. When I did, there were 4 missed calls. I waited, took a breath, then I called back. Where were you? She asked immediately. At the gym. You didn't tell me you were going. I don't usually announce my schedule. There was a pause, sharp, offended. You never used to be like this. That sentence landed differently now, not as an accusation, as a confession. We talked that night, a long call. Her voice moved between frustration and something softer, something practiced. I've been thinking about us, she said, a lot. So have I. You sound detached. I'm calm, I corrected. There's a difference. She didn't respond right away. When she did, her voice dropped. I didn't expect this pause to feel like I was losing you. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the ceiling. You asked for space. That always comes with risk. That's not fair. No, I said quietly. It's honest. She changed tactics then. Apologies slipped in. Small ones, vague ones, statements that hovered just above responsibility. Maybe I handled things wrong. Maybe I underestimated what we had. Maybe I should have talked to you instead. I listened, didn't interrupt, didn't reassure. "What are you doing this weekend?" she asked suddenly. "I've got plans." "With who?" "With myself." That answer ended the call. Saturday morning, I finished a small woodworking project I'd started earlier in the week. Smooth edges, clean lines. It felt good to complete something tangible, something that didn't second-guess me. That afternoon, Mark stopped by with coffee. We sat on the porch watching the day drift by. "She's unraveling, isn't she?" he said. I didn't answer right away. Then, "She's realizing she doesn't control the quiet anymore." That night, my phone lit up again. This time, the message was short. "We need to talk when I get back. Not if, when." I stared at it for a long time before replying. Okay, no argument, no fear, no relief either. Sunday came and went peacefully. I went for a long walk, cooked dinner, slept deeply. Somewhere across the world, she was running out of distance, running out of time. And for the first time since she'd said the word pause, I understood something with absolute clarity. I wasn't waiting anymore. Whatever conversation was coming next, whenever it happened, it wouldn't be about saving something fragile. It would be about facing what had already changed. She came back early. I found out from a text that wasn't framed as a question, just a statement. Landing Monday. We need to talk in person. No apology, no explanation. Just the assumption that things would resume the moment her feet touched the ground. Monday morning felt strangely ordinary. I cleaned the apartment, not for her, for me. Finished the small cutting board I'd been working on, wiped the counter, brewed coffee. My mind wasn't racing. It was steady, clear. She walked in just after 3. 2 oversized suitcases, new haircut, new clothes. She looked tired in a way that had nothing to do with travel. "Hey," she said. "Welcome back," I replied evenly. Her eyes scanned the room, the weights in the corner, the woodworking magazines, the absence of her usual clutter. "The place looks different." "I've been busy." She picked up the cutting board, ran her fingers over it. "You made this?" "Finished it yesterday." She nodded, swallowing. "We need to talk." We sat across from each other. Not close, not hostile, just honest distance. "I made a mistake," she said quickly, asking for the pause, all of it. "Why?" I asked. She hesitated. "Because being away made me realize what I could lose." "Interesting," I said, "because 9 days ago you needed 3 weeks to decide if you were happy." Her shoulders dropped. "I didn't expect you to change." "I didn't change," I said quietly. I stopped shrinking. Silence stretched, the kind that tells the truth. "I talked to a friend," she admitted. "She said you seemed lighter, happier. It scared me." "That's why you came back?" She didn't answer right away. When she did, it was barely above a whisper. "I didn't like the idea that you might be okay without me." That was it. The sentence that closed the door. "I don't need you," I said calmly. "That's what this pause taught me. I want a partner, not permission." Her eyes filled. "So that's it? You're done?" "I'm done pretending," I replied. "Done with walking carefully. Done with pauses that only work one way." I stood, walked to the desk, and placed a folder on the table between us. She recognized it instantly. "You planned this?" "I prepared," I corrected. "There's a difference." She opened it, flipped through the pages, her expression shifting from disbelief to something quieter. Acceptance, maybe. "You're really serious," she said. "Yes," she cried. "Promised change, counseling, starting over." I listened without interrupting, then shook my head. "These 9 days showed me who I am when I'm not trying to earn peace," I said. "I won't give that up." She left that night with a small bag. No drama, just exhaustion. The days that followed were calm. Papers signed, messages unanswered. The noise faded. Weeks later, the divorce was final. Clean, simple. No kids, no house, just 2 lives unentangled. Life didn't explode into happiness. It settled. I built routines, kept the gym, took advanced woodworking classes, reconnected with people I'd let go of, learned how good quiet could feel when it wasn't weaponized. Months later, I saw her by chance in a coffee shop. We nodded. Polite, distant, finished. Walking out, I realized something simple and powerful. She thought pressing pause would keep me available. Instead, it gave me space to remember who I was, and once you remember that, you don't go back. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever been asked to wait, to shrink, to put your life on hold, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment. Your voice matters more than you think.